continuing resolution. 1,500 pages of a bill with about 1,500 pages of index to tell you what, quote unquote, the bill's about, to then, that's got to be read previous to Christmas to vote on to continue fulfilling our government without a shutdown. You know when they got it? Last night. Mike Johnson, Republicans, they've got to read this. We're going to talk about this CR bill and how, again, they're ramming it through before Trump becomes president. Also, we're going to talk about the interview. Did you see what Trump did? Did you see it? Trump is a mannerism guy. There's a lot of things that you can read from him by the way he talks and discusses things. We're going to discuss that today. Also, we're going to talk about your money. In a time where we're volatile, I mean, we have a lot going on. I mean, the drone situation, I mean, the fact of conflicts around the world, the transition of power, the fact that your government's wanting to spend $200 billion or $300 more just to get you through a few more weeks. There's a lot going on. Well, China's doing something secretly, buying something you need to know about. Also, Bitcoin's skyrocketing. Everybody's flocking to it. Why I think this is a bad thing. And again, what you should do with your cash. Let's dive into these stories today. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. Also remember, I'm going to be releasing another video today, Life with Colby, at the second channel. Please go check that out. Remember, we're going to be doing a giveaway on that channel. At the end of this month, we're going to give away something on that channel for our subscribers that have come over. That channel is all about my life and just vlogging and what we're doing around the farm, what we're doing with children. It's a lot more uplifting and sometimes not as drab as some of our news. So please, on top of enjoying this channel and getting information, go check that channel out. I'll leave the link below. We have a live video today, second video. You need to go back and watch it. A great video. Now let's jump on to the news of the day. First, we're going to talk about the CR, continuing resolution. Then we're going to talk about some money. And then we're going to talk about what Trump's shown in his video. Something that you should have seen. And if you didn't, we're going to talk about it. Now first, continuing resolution. 1,500 pages of an index too that's about that size. I want you to listen to some of the things about this 1,500 page bill that they're supposedly going to read in the next 2 or 3 days. And remember, you have a Republican-led House. What they should have done is shut the government down like I told you yesterday. They should shut it down and say, look, we're not going to negotiate any spending until Trump's in office. And if we do, it's going to be single task bills. 1-page bills. That's all you need. You can have index reads on it, 1 page. But no, they have to put all this fluff in there. So I want you to listen to what some of the people are saying about it. We are literally being held hostage with this CR. This is from Anna Paulina Luna. It says, why was Helene and Milton funding not a standalone vote? Like I just said. We can vote on post offices as a standalone vote and not disaster relief. What she's saying is they throw the emotional part of, oh, we've got to help Helene and Milton's hurricane victims. But what they do is they cover it up with all the flippin' pork and all the projects and all the extra spending that they want to do. But no, they can do standalone bills for things like the post office, but can't do a standalone bill for funding to help Americans, people. This is your Republican leadership. Now, the reason I want to bring this up and the reason I want to hear all these Republicans talking, because every one of them will come and tell you how they're not going to vote for it and how it shouldn't pass and how it's worthless, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? Every one of them will negotiate it and end up passing it. And they'll say, well, you know, we had to hold our breath and just do it. Chip Roy, Anna Paulina Luna, all these people, if they really stand, if the Freedom Caucus really stands, they will shut the government down. But no. Watch. Do you think they're going to shut the government down? Nope. What they're going to do is they're going to all work out their little qualms and they'll pass. I like what Rand Paul said, and I want you to just listen to this because it's brilliant. He says, I'd hope to see Speaker Johnson grow a spine, but this bill is full of pork, and it shows he's a weak man. The debt will continue to grow. Ultimately, the dollar will fall. Democrats are clueless, and the big Republicans are complicit. It's a sad day in America. See, that's what I'm talking about. you will hear Republicans get on Twitter, they'll get on Fox News, and they'll get on all these conservative platforms and talk about all this, about how this is such a bad bill and how we shouldn't borrow money, how we shouldn't kick the can down the road, we need to face the problems, and it's all a bunch of bull. Because every freaking one of them will come back and vote for it. That's what chaps me off. Is because you hear all these Republicans talk about how they're not going to vote for it, and somehow you'll have 3 or 4 stay staunch, and the rest of them will swing the vote and end up not shutting the government down. Because here's the word. Well, we want to talk tough. Well, we don't want to shut down the government. I mean, we got to give this money to the federal workers instead of actually having a spine. The House Republicans so far have announced that they have a 1,500-page spending bill for the government. So far, there's a few that's going to stand against it. Now, I want you to read these names because I want to see if they actually come back around and actually hold to their spine and actually listen to their American people, or are they going to kowtow like all the rest of the Republicans? Nancy Mace, Wesley Hunt, Kat Cammack, Andy Biggs, Bob Good, Paul Gosar, Ralph Norman, Tim Burkett, and Chip Roy. Now, every one of them, they better all say no and still say no. And they better get people like, you know, this is what's funny. The Mike Johnsons, the Jim Jordans, all these that claim to be conservative, Comer. Dude, I'm so over that. I'm not blinded by this stuff anymore. All these are just politicians wanting a job. They want your money. And so what they'll do is they will sell theirself out, and they will act like they're working hard for you, but all they're doing is just holding out for what they can get out of this bill. You don't believe it? Look at our history. $37 trillion in debt. You think that was held up because people had principles in Washington? No, it's been blown because there's no principles in Washington. If you had more Thomas Masseys and Rand Pauls, if you had more of those kind of people, you probably wouldn't have these kind of situations. But that's why people tend to not like them on big committees, or they tend to not like them over something, because they are true, strong, strengthened men when it comes to principle convictions. Now, you shouldn't want to spend our money. You have a new president coming in. So we're going to kick the can down the road and spend hundreds of billions of dollars just to wait to February. And a lot of this is stuff that Trump wouldn't agree with. Now, this is where I get back to that little comment about the little nerd that hangs around, Mike Johnson. He's been with Trump all the time. You would think that he would shut this bill down, but no, he is too inept and weak. I'll be honest with you, he seems like a very nice guy. I mean, you want to like the guy, but he's a weak guy. And I think that's exactly why they put him as speaker, because he was a conservative. Yes, he was a true conservative, spoke with conviction. And then when they put him up, it was just like he lost all that. He lost his spine. And now he's become a very weak man, led by really the biggest players, such as the McConnells, Pelosi's, and Schumers. Remember the backroom deal, the $50 billion for the pharma? The spending bill is like 200-something billion or something like that. I mean, just crazy amounts of money. And we just see so many zeros, we're just like, it looks like $5 to me. I mean, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about buying a loaf of bread. What they're doing, though, is they're causing your loaf of bread to go up each and every day because of the way they're spending your money. Andy Biggs, and I like Andy Biggs. I think that he tries to play both sides, but Andy Biggs says this: the index of the 1,547-page CR is longer than the CR language itself. This is not a continuing resolution. This is an omnibus bill. Omnibus bill is basically spending for the year. What he's saying is it's so frivolous and all this stuff is so bad that we're paying for and spending money on that it's really a joke. But remember, there's only like 5 or 6 Republicans that's saying they're not going to vote for it. Where's the other set of Republicans? Well, we have like, 180, 170, 200? I mean, where's the other people that's supposed to be standing against this? Shut the government down. Shut it down. Let it flow through the holidays. I know people are like, oh, there's people that work for the government. Well, you better find another job. Because to be honest with you, the reason they're doing this is trying to shut Doge down. They're trying to fund certain things to where Elon Musk and Vivek and people on his committee, such as Thomas Massey and Rand Paul and Ron Paul, can't actually do anything. They're trying to tie their hands. Mike Johnson, conservatives are doing this with the help of the Republican rhinos and the Democrats. So who's actually speaking for you in Washington? Chip Roy. Chip Roy's one of those ones too, man. He wants to grandstand, but he hardly ever actually holds a spine and holds tight to the narrative. He'll always kowtow. And I know a lot of people like Chip Roy. I like him, but he's kind of like Jim Jordan and Comer. They all speak with the big game and how they're there for the conservatives. But when it comes down to it, every one of them end up bending and they try to spin it. Listen to what he says. He says, we get this negotiated crap and we're forced to eat this crap sandwich. I love these words. This is called the grandstanding part. Why? Because freaking Christmas is right around the corner and it's the same dang thing every year. Legislate by crisis, legislate by calendar, not legislate because it's the right thing to do. That all sounds good. Let's see if he holds off on it. Let's see if he wants to shut the government down. Let's see. No negotiations, shut it down. Because just like he said, they do it every year. They hurry up and wait right before Christmas or right before the year end. And they're like, oh gosh, we got to get this bill in, got to get this bill in. And what they're actually doing is just making it where you can't read it, and all of a sudden you just go along with the party lines and you vote it. That's what's going to happen. Just watch. And again, 5 or 6 Republicans standing against it. Most everybody else is going to support it. So truthfully, who is looking out for you? Now let's move on to the money situation, and then we're going to talk about what Trump was showing in that video. China is secretly buying massive loads of gold. It's actually 10 times what they said they're purchasing. Why is this a big deal, and why should we pay attention? As I've told you before, gold is the commodity, the precious currency that's been here forever. Why do we want to stray away from it? It's kind of like when Bill Gates tells you the Impossible Burger is way better than beef for you. Why? When beef has been roaming and buffalo and red meat has been roaming this earth and we've been living off of it for all these years. Why change? China is realizing that. Also Poland. You're seeing all these countries start looking at buying more gold. There's a lot of European countries, especially Eastern European countries, that are purchasing gold next to Poland because they realize the value is there. They see America destroying their own dollar because of these spending bills. They don't see the BRICS currency doing much, and that's exactly why China is buying more gold. Because they know the only way that they're going to get their currency off the path and try to compete with the dollar is to simply have the gold. Gold is something that brings wealth to a nation, brings wealth to a population. If you're not buying gold, you need to. Now they'll tell you, oh, gold's going down, it's not going to go up. Bitcoin's the answer. And guess what? Bitcoin hit all-time highs yesterday, 107,000. Everybody's going to flock to it. What if all of a sudden these drones was an EMP? You ever thought about that? What if all of a sudden, and this was words, 50%, there was a drone specialist yesterday saying 50% this drone situation could be a big deal and could cause a nuclear problem or could cause a blackout. I don't know. May not can, may. I'm always prepared. But if you had all your money in Bitcoin or sitting on your phone, what happens in an EMP and a blackout? You have nothing. You'll be standing in the bread lines. Now people are like, oh, you can't spend gold though. I mean, what is the good? I mean, you're not going to go buy gold. You're not going to have gold and buying bread with it. No, but you have wealth. And then that helps you hedge for the new currency or for another form of bartering. That's what gold is. It's not about buying bread. It's about making sure that you have wealth to then turn around and leverage to get the bread. That is why people buy gold. That is why China is buying gold. Why would China buy gold when they have all the technology in the world? They're bringing in a new currency, and they are the strongest competitor for the dollar and world power. And they're still buying gold because they realize the value of it. Did you see all these people pulling away from Bitcoin? Like some of these big companies are like, look, we're not going to invest in Bitcoin. It's a little bit more dangerous. What's so funny? What companies are buying into Bitcoin? Let's think about that for a second. So you want to buy Bitcoin because you want to beat the system. You know who the biggest buyer of Bitcoin was? BlackRock and Vanguard. People in the stock market that you've been trying to get away from. So are you really buying into the system or running a parallel? You're not running a parallel by buying Bitcoin. At one time, that was the thought. But now it's just become part of the system. It's going to be openly traded. You watch. They're going to utilize it to turn you to where you believe that digital currency is the way to go and Bitcoin is just going to be a part of it. Now, can you play with a little bit and buy a little Bitcoin? Sure, go ahead. I don't care. But when you start putting your wealth and your value in digitized currency, when you can't tangibly hold it and it's on this phone or it's in that digitized wallet, it brings no value to you. Absolutely no value to you if you can't access your money. So again, I am putting up cash. Right now especially, there's been crazy stories with these drones. And that kind of leads me to the Trump story I'm supposed to get to. With everything in the panic going on in our world, the chaos is one after the other, because what they're doing, they're going to try to do all they can to stop January 20th. They are. And they're going to try all they can to cause problems and chaos. Why do you think the government's not shooting them down? Well, it's probably because it's the government doing this. Well, the government came out yesterday and said they're not doing this. It could be just a complete psyop. Or it could be them looking for the nuclear warhead that they've allowed the border to stay open for so long, and also the nuclear warhead is here. No matter what it is. Gordon Shane came out yesterday and said he thought it's a 50% chance it's China, because they've been building new technology to cause problems for other countries. No matter what it is, it's a crisis. It's not just people flying them around, because guess what? There's people that tried to fly them and got arrested for it. There was people trying to get their drone technology up in the air to see what other drones were doing. I'm talking about like higher end drones, millionaire drones. And guess what? Theirs was shut down. Theirs couldn't power up. There was no fly zones. But you're telling me those are flying? There's a lot more to the story. And that brings me up to the next point. I want you to go back and watch the Trump interview. He hit on a lot of things. But when they asked him about the drone situation, I want you to look at his mannerisms. Now, Trump wears his emotion on his face. I mean, you know that. He kind of laughs, he'll kind of gibber, he'll joke, he'll get serious. He'll kind of, sometimes you can tell if he's real angry, he struggles with getting his words out. You kind of know his personality. We've been around and seen it, because I mean, he's always on the screen. I want you to look at how he carried himself. If you look at body language, he pulls back, he gets very serious faced. Now remember, he is getting intelligence briefings. If you notice at the end of this time, he said, I'm not going to comment on the intelligence I've gotten. But he said with a decisiveness, he says the government knows exactly who this is. The government knows where it's flying out of. The government knows what they're doing. But listen to how he said the intelligence part. I'm not going to comment. They should come out and talk to the American people, but I'm not going to comment. He knows what they know. And I think he realizes that whatever they know will cause panic in America. And so that's why he's not disclosing it. Someone who's very bombastic and who usually would let the cat out of the bag. But he's choosing not to, and reframing so the quote-unquote president of the time right now should be the one releasing. Now, they've tried to put Biden out in the last few days talking about these drone situations and how he's kind of hit, well, it's not the government, it's nothing to worry about. They're trying to act like it's nothing to be a big deal. But when you're arresting other people that's trying to fly their own drones, you have no fly zones for other people trying to take up drones. You have three defense contractors that have military presence with drones, all saying it's not what they're looking for in the sky, it's what they're looking for on the ground. The nuclear situation. The way his body language showed yesterday is if they knew the truth, I'm scared it would cause problems. Also, did you notice this? He's not counting his eggs before they hatch. And what I mean by that is this. If you notice how he talked about January 20th and how he talked about how we're not going to get too excited, we're not going to get the cart before the horse, he almost had a reservation in talking about how, because the seriousness of whatever's going on that we don't know about. Yes, he's putting his people in place. Yes, he's working behind closed doors to get those cabinet people picked and budget set and all that stuff. But he was very reserved in talking about how he is going to be president and none of this stuff should happen. He kept pointing back to Biden as if Biden needs to answer these questions. Government needs to answer these questions. Defense needs to answer these questions. Did you notice what else? He said they were flying over Bedminster. Now again, he has the intelligence. They have given him the intelligence briefings. But then he made a comment. He said, "I won't be staying in Bedminster anytime soon." Now, was he saying that in like as a joke, jokingly? Oh, I don't trust it. I'm not going to stay in Bedminster in New Jersey. This man got shot and then had to stand behind glass for a while, and then went out of the glass to go help a lady that fell. He also went back to the same place. He still kept doing live events. So he's not scared of a challenge. He understands the risk on his life. But to say he's not going back to Bedminster right now, to say that he is not going to comment on the drone situation, that's two things that are very, very peculiar. He knows it's not his place yet because he's not president. But he's saying, look, I know what's going on and they should be the one to tell you because they're president, they're vice president, they're the ones leading this. So, wrapping it all up, this video is not meant to scare you. It's meant to just say, look, be prepared, have some cash on hand, have some gold, have some precious metals, have some food. Make sure you have some food. Make sure you have your medicines. Make sure you have some emergency medicines. Look, it is a scary time that we live in because I'm telling you, the thought of Donald Trump and his administration, RFK and some of them coming in and dismantling some of this managerial state, this establishment, scares them to death. And it takes away all their powers. So just be wary. We have 35 days. What's going to happen in 35 days? Check out Trump's body language. It really changes when he talks about the drones, how serious he gets right at the very end, where he's not going to answer the questions about that. It's a big deal. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this video and on some of these details. What are your thoughts on it? Comment below. Tell me. I want to know what you think because it helps us gain wisdom and grow together. And you may know something that I don't know. So let's talk about it in the comments. Please comment below. Also, please remember to check out Life with Colby, that channel. That's my new channel that we're doing, and we're going to be doing farming, vlogging, and talking about how we are sustainable and how we raise our food. It's a great thing to watch, especially starting a new year. Be a new you and try to be the very best you can be. And if you're 1% better a day, that's 1% better than you were yesterday. Also remember the channel, my wife's channel, The Max Life. She has some great content over there, again, on her perspective of what we're doing in this crazy world. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you so much. God bless.